Hello and welcome to this week's episode of TLDR CLG. This is the week of March 30th, 2015, and my name is Brendon, and this is my host, Jim. Our female host, the girl, is otherwise incapacitated because of a unfortunate accident.
We didn't mean to beat her senseless, but I'm sorry, everyone. We just had to.
Jim did it.
Yeah. Her vocal cords are gone. It's a sad.
Yeah, cries out for she just lost her voice, so she's not going to be on this week. So we're going to have to carry on without her. Okie dokie. So moving on to the LOL segment versus T8, we
victoried.
We victoried them. We wandered. Can you give us a rundown? I know we had a double AD comp. We were kind of behind in the early game, and then people started dying.
Yeah, I think my highlights in that game were, I think what was it? Zion had a very strong showing on Rumble.
Oh yeah,
he showed up with a really nice. Him and Smithy did some really nice combo plays in landing ultimates, and what was it? I think it was Afremu on Lulu. There's some nice tower dive. I recall one later in the game tower dive where Zion himself went and took tower and just ulted on top of himself, got a Lulu ultimate, and he just looked insane. When you're able to have that many slows, knockups, and hard TCs with a Sejuani and Sejuani, Rumble, and Lulu, it sets up the double AD comp quite well.
Okay. So it wasn't really that insane of a game, to be honest. It was kind of, aside from the little bit of falling behind in the early game, it was pretty much like standard CLG. They slowly just build a lead, objective play, then they win by. They didn't have extremely great team fighting. It was okay.
I'd say out of the recent games or recent losses, they had better team fighting than I've seen. There was strong synergy in the team fighting, which was nice to see. Though it wasn't perfect. It was just that looks great.
Okay. It's okay.
My highlight, screw other highlights. My highlight was all the flashes out of Slushy ultimates.
Oh yeah,
the Oriana ultimates just were missing left and right because CLG members were like, "It's coming, I feel it, flash." Right, literally, there were so many.
But I think what play I remember was when I think it was. They caught out Dodo by the river brush, right on near mid, and then he flashed over the wall, and then Link flashes over, then Zion flashes over, then Afro flashes over, and then Link gets played into the tower, then he dies. But that was fun for me.
I think if a good way to put it is if you wanted to see CLG League of Legends win a game this week, this is the one you should watch.
Isn't that the only one they watched though? Moving on to
my point exactly.
Moving on to the tip game. So, I hear Luden's Echo Corki is really good.
Yeah, Xiao Chow's a troll, and I love it.
I'm impressed.
What is it? What is it? Friends have been telling me it's Xiao Chow goes into lane, says, "Sorry guys, big sorry. I will farm," and just plays whatever troll champion he feels like, and the team wins because. Rush? I don't know.
Okay.
It was a good game.
That series makes me sad. These couple of games make me sad.
Well, yeah, they're losses. I mean, what can you expect? Honestly, what was the big thing that as a CLG fan you don't expect was a 2v2 lane that was pretty even. Double Up and Afremu lost a couple team fights in.
Or the All-Star versus Graves Leona, right?
Yeah, Graves Leona is a very strong lane. It's traditionally strong. When Graves was this is 2 years ago, when Graves first came out and was the AD carry to beat.
This is 3 years ago, because it's technically Season 5, and Season 2, Worlds was... I remember fondly back to that.
Worlds was always quirky.
I remember I remember that fondly double lift, split pushing in the bot lane with his Graves, and then dodging that Shen ult with a flash. Good times. Good times. Back when SK was squeaked by and knocked Fnatic out of the European finals. Sigh. I miss season 2.
Right. It was the good old days.
The good old
But
days.
the tip game was honestly, I think the big one for me would like set the game in stone was this. There was a 3v2 gank that CLG made top with Zion
Afro?
was there, Zion, Afro, Smithy,
Mm-hmm.
and what had happened was Smithy was 2 levels, I think it was 2 levels below Rush, and Rush was level 6, he was level 4, and just Rush playing Vi having his ultimate turned the fight like insanely. Rush got so far ahead in that game, like single-handedly in another later team fight bottom or skirmish more so was able to effectively do all of Smithy's health bar. It was
insane.
It seemed pretty broken. I mean, I personally like banning Vi because I have a few choice words that I like to describe her that involve mean things. So I'll hold off of those, but I don't like that champion.
Don't you like the counterplay to her ultimate though?
It's
If you get out of 1,000 unit range of her, I think. Oh, it's like 2,000 or 3,000 units. If you get about far enough away, then you can escape it. I think. You have to do like Hecarim home guarding with like ghosts and shit.
I mean,
No, I think it still follows you. It's Nautilus ult that stops after a while.
Nautilus, I think he's going.
No,
I don't know.
It's like 2,000 or 3,000 range, and then it slows down and it disappears.
Oh, well, the thing with Vi's when some friends were pointing this out to me that was that Ezreal does well against Vi. And I guess if you're able to EOA after her ult or something.
Yeah.
But like the point that they kept mentioning was Ezreal like arcane shifting into your team when Vi ults, and I'm like, that sounds like a bad idea. You know that Vi's ultimate CCs people when it goes through them, right?
Let's just not talk about your friends.
I don't have those.
Who were talking to you about Vi then?
It was me and myself and I.
Okay, let's just move on. We've spent like 10 minutes talking about how terrible this game was. Moving on to the C9 tiebreaker. So, Draven, Vayne, Zac, Jarvan, Maokai, Alistar, Hecarim. The hell went on here?
I love the picks, both sides. It was great. I think the big one was C9 read CLG's early game pretty well. That play they made top lane, so they made a play top lane where CLG's standard strat that they've been running effectively ends up with a large wave pushing into top lane tower, but Zion has enough time to either TP to the tower if it's smart or run all the way back from base. Mm-hmm. And he runs all the way back, tries to have, I think it's Smithy and Afro, I may be wrong there, help him get there, but there are 4 members of C9 there waiting
then he gets
for those 3 members to get
binding
out.
And then
binding lands, and they get a kill off the binding, get the tower, deny the whole wave, and they get I think it was like 2,500 gold lead off of that, and just work the map really well. Like,
and bot lane
C9 read him,
couldn't get the tower. So
yeah, I mean there were a few good fights bottom, but like nothing ended up. The disappointing part is you watch it and there looks like there's chances for them to like, okay, we can, depending on where Smithy flashes or where whoever Aframu goes for, they could have killed Draven, and I think it would have been a completely different game if rather than going for the easy kills, they focused on getting Draven. But I don't know what was in their minds at that point, but they traded a couple of kills, but it was 2 kills onto Draven after initial trades that didn't get onto Draven. But Draven gets 2 kills, and he was at 130, 150 farm, something like that at that point.
And his 700 gold from his passive, because Adoration is great.
Yeah, 2 sets of Adoration.
That was fun. I think that really put it.
No, that's how you win as Draven. It's just you sit, you farm, and then your team just gives you a couple kills, and you're like, oh, look, I have 1,000-something gold advantage on the other AD carry. Prepare your anus, enemy team. Draven's coming.
Okay. I love how, even though we've talked about the pick ban a little bit and the champions a little bit, we didn't really mention like the 2 big things, like Jax and Vayne.
Yeah, special picks. I like Jax. I didn't think it played that poorly.
I don't think those were what lost the game. It was poor play. Like everyone else likes to harp on the pick and ban and saying that Jax is bad, Vayne is bad, but a lot of the times it was just like majority of like a misplay in like the early lane swap or like a misplay in the in the early game, and it's just not so much the champions, but how they moved around the map, right?
Yeah, it's like if you get hit by a Morgana bind, it doesn't matter what shit champion you are, even if it's a good champion. You get hit by a Morgana bind when there's 4 people around, and your team doesn't. The rest of your team doesn't have like supports. They're not all supports. You're not going to get out. You're just going to die, and that's what happened, at least in the C9 game. And Vayne's a weird one because, like, Double Lift has been quoted with saying Vayne's bad.
Yeah,
and.
But I don't think in this comp, it's Zac, Jarvan, Maokai. You have to get something that can kill tank lines. So that's either Hypercarries, Kog'Maw, Vayne, Jinx maybe. But the Jinx takes a little bit longer to ramp up. And then I think one more. There's one more. Tristana, if you really want to try that. But those are the 4 champions. And
I think Vayne could work.
Jinx takes a little bit too long to ramp up, and they don't have enough self peel. So I think it's an okay pick, but you don't want to fight that early. But then there's a lot of other factors in the game because they were forced to fight that early.
I think that Jarvan really threw off CLG's comp.
Yeah.
I think Vayne was actually picked into Jarvan, but the thing with when you run a mid lane Jarvan with Draven,
you can't.
You can't let Draven get his adoration, because if he gets his adoration
off, you have
to
lane swap because it's a Vayne versus Draven matchup, and you just straight up it's bad.
But either way, if Draven gets his stacks off.
Yeah.
And Jarvan isn't entirely shut down. Even if Jarvan's entirely shut down, he's going to max his Dragon Strike.
Yeah.
And just reduce the armor of everyone, and Draven is going to just
slaughter everybody.
Yeah, just you have a great time. And honestly, I think CLG had a late would have been fine in the late game against that team, but the few early plays that C9 made outplayed CLG's early plays. It was not much more that you can say about it.
Well, we're going to move off from that depressing topic and move to a slightly. Let's say. It could be more depressing or slightly less depressing. So CLG Black lost to TDK. Alex Ish kind of went berserk on us, and then for the second game, when we decided to put our A game out, we subbed in our manager for support, moved our jungler to the AD position, moved our AD to the jungle position, and moved our support to the mid lane position.
What's it, hot shot in the GG style?
No, at least they were playing their main position. This is kind of scarier.
Yeah.
Hey, it didn't go. Our manager didn't do too badly. She went 0-2-0.
Yeah. That's not that many deaths.
Yeah, we kind of got ruffle stomped.
I mean, CLG. If anyone didn't recall, CLG, even I think going into this week, was effectively out of contention from the start.
I think if they had 2 wins, TDK lost both games, and then Fusion lost both games, they had a chance at a tiebreaker or something. But it was something insanely minuscule. And then
so I guess after losing the first game, they're out of contention. So may as well have fun with it.
Yeah, she wanted to play the last game with her teammates. I think Easy stepped out. So she.
I guess you could call on sportsmanship or something for it, but I don't know. I don't know what the deal with sportsmanship in the challenger scene is. All
right, so moving on to the next topic, CS:GO.
Indeed,
it totally went better. We won both games, and we won 2.
Nope.
No, we lost.
It was just as good. The same record.
Yay!
1 win, 2 losses.
Okay, can you just give us
Yeah, I can give a bit of rundown. Rundown. It's not that depressing. They're good matches. I mean, the first game we played was against Luminosity on Mirage, and it was just a pretty good game overall. It was 16-13, and we had some weird rounds. There was a lot of sneaky plays. I know. No, was it Peter got a few 3Ks. I just have a few rounds noted as extremely well played, so I'd say go back and watch it. I think the big one I recall, CLG did start on CT side and didn't have the best CT side, which is a point of frustration because if you're playing against a team who let's say if we live in the world where CLG is one of the top NA CSGO teams,
Yep.
against Luminosity, who is second tier NA CSGO team, if not lower, but a lot of people, I think giving them second tier is fine. We should not be giving up so many rounds on the CT side, or when we're on CT side, to them on Mirage. But
that's been a noted problem with CLGs throughout their duration at CLG. They've never been a strong CT side. They're strangely enough, they're stronger on T side. So I don't think.
Yeah, I mean that's the direction the game seems to be shifting in a way.
Yeah, but that's not so much like CLG being weak on this. That's not so much CLG being like weak and dropping games to lower tier teams, but that's how their style plays. They're dropping it on the CT side. Like if you could say that the strongest point their T side wasn't going so well and they had to rely on their CT side, then that would be a little bit more concerning. But it's a traditional weakness they have. They're dropping rounds on the CT side, and then they do that normally. So even if it is a lower tier team, they still have short up that weakness. So it's an understandable weakness to have.
So the other, I guess the one last point I have on that game was that if you want to watch a really cool round that's fun to watch, Hayes had a really fancy play on the last CT round, which made ending the CT side a bit of hype. Luminosity pushed, did just a standard A execute and pushed through a smoke on A ramp, and when that smoke went off, Hayes just walked in through behind the smoke onto A ramp as all the T's ran out into A site, and just as the smoke's dissipating, just walks he's behind the back and goes out guns blazing, kills I think he kills 2 himself and assists on a 3rd, though I may be wrong. He may have gotten even more than that. Mm-hmm. But I wrote down that he had a nice behind the back bang, so.
Yay.
More power to him.
Okay, moving on to the other games which didn't go so well. Elevate and Elevate.
2 games against Elevate, yeah. So the first game was
wasn't it a game in a series against Elevate?
Yes, exactly. 1 map and a series. The first was against Elevate on Dust, which was, it went to overtime. It was a really close game. Overall, both teams played just pretty well. It's a good way to put it. Elevate, I think, actually, following these games, if you didn't notice, Elevate has had a roster change, and they're putting in Hiko, C9's former lurker sort of role, in on their roster. So he's going to be playing Sivo.
I remember him saying something that he would never play with CLG because they weren't experienced enough, right?
No, I think it was something about not liking the CLG brand or something.
I don't know. There's something.
No, the CLG wasn't experienced enough. I
don't know that.
But either way, he didn't have a. He's going to be another big player, a big name on the roster. If you go look up some highlights for him, it's not like he was a strong player on C9, and there was a reason why iBuyPower prior to being disbanded
tried to poach him.
But in any case, CLG lost to Elevate in overtime on Dust 2. Very close game. If you're happy with watching losses, I'd say watch it. It's a good game.
You're a CLG fan. If you're not happy with watching losses, you shouldn't be here.
Yeah, right.
C9 or TSM should be your bandwagon to join.
Yeah,
CLG is if you're here, stout of heart, ready for suffering, and have defibrillators in your closet somewhere.
Pink hair, don't care.
Pink hair, don't care.
Yeah. So the other game the other set is against Elevate also.
And are they still playing Hiko in this one?
No, Elevate was not playing Hiko until after this tournament.
Okay.
And I think they're playing Desi?
Desi.
Yeah, I think that's the correct name. Who played quite well overall. But he was their. They had lost a player. I think they lost to Liege.
Oh.
And Desi is playing for them now. And I don't know if they replaced Desi with Hiko, but either way. It was an interesting match, mainly because the maps were decided. CLG picked Nuke, Elevate picked Inferno, and I think it was I don't know the exact format, but I think it's they agree, or in a sense, on Dust 2 on the last pick. So just the way the big bands work out.
Are they using the Gfinity style, which is pick pick ban ban pick pick, or is it ban ban pick pick ban ban?
I got into the game or started watching that game like, I don't know, a quarter of the way through the Nuke game. So I didn't see the actual pick ban, but I did recall hearing several times who picked which map. And what had happened was on Nuke we had a really weak T side, and yeah, it was 4-round T side, which I mean, hey, 4-round T side's better than how we did against Hellraisers. But
this is Elevate though, so I don't think we should be comparing that.
Hellraisers is a European team; they're supposed to be better.
But we only got 4 rounds on the T side too.
Yeah, we got 3 rounds on the T side against Hellraisers, and came back, shut him out, yo.
Yes, 33% increase. I'm so happy.
Yeah,
so proud.
Right. Yeah, I just had a really weak T side, and then weren't able to pick up the gun rounds that we needed on the CT side. So effectively, Elevate shut us out on Nuke. It was overall they had a really strong performance on the map that we picked, and then
they, as in CLG.
CLG had picked. Elevate had a really strong performance on the map that CLG had picked. Yes, that article, yo. And then in the next map, so CLG's down 1 map. They play on Inferno, the pick for Elevate's pick, and CLG comes out on Inferno extremely well. After a pretty tight early game with Desi making some, like, there were a lot of individual
outplays.
Individual outplays was what was Elevate's game, and eventually the individual outplays just started to fall off. More or less, there were some. I think the big one was they had some really strong anti-eco.
Anti-eco, yep.
Yeah, just they were taking advantage. Oh, and there was in round 11 on Inferno, Peter. They were in an eco round, and CLG was an eco round. Elevate was full guns, and it's a Tech 9 armor rush.
Oh God, not Tech 9.
And they rush B side. Yeah, they rush. They got the Tech daddies, and Peter's the real Tech daddy. He runs and he gets a 3K down banana. Just he doesn't care.
I guess it was bananas.
Yeah, BANANAS.
NANAS. BANAN.
Yeah, and
I'm sad.
I think a good way to put I'd like to compare this. So after winning that map, it went to the 3rd map and Decider, which was Dust 2, which CLG has performed really well on against strong European teams, but for some reason not well against, I guess, more localized teams, or teams people wouldn't consider top European teams.
They're in NA though, so that's the point.
Well, it's just weird. No, I mean, let's say Keed Stars. People will say Keed Stars is a pretty good team, but they're not a top EU team. They're South American, but either way, they're a strong team, but they're not this amazing top team. But Titan, people would say, well, Titan has the best player in the world, so obviously they're
bad teammate prison.
Amazing.
Bad teammate prison, man.
And LDLC or Envious now, they're really good teams, and CLG has taken maps off of them on Dust 2. They go play against Elevate. They lost their first game on Dust 2 this week. Close game, nevertheless. And they lose the second one in the same way they lost to Keed, which was just having an issue with winning CT side early rounds. They went down 5 rounds early on the CT side. They had their amazing. Their 6th round was pretty amazing, but so that would be a highlight to watch. But there wasn't much else.
All right.
I think what was kind of cool, if the casters would agree, Elevate played CLG's style. It's a common style, but style of Dust 2 against them, which is just gain mid control, pretty standard, and bait something with a couple smokes or flashes, and then do mid to B rush when you're on T side. And they kept doing that, and it beat CLG. CLG wasn't playing the retakes very well.
Mm-hmm.
And then CLG tried to do it, and
they kind of got stopped.
Well, they were already down enough rounds that it was just really hard to come back from. So. All
right. So let's moving on to the very exciting and much more uplifting world of Halo. So.
So uplifting. This is great.
I know, right? Matcom took Ogre 2 up for Chipotle, and Tom Ryan had street tacos. Exciting.
Street tacos are good.
That's all we got from his Twitter feed, because that's how we get our information. Twitter feed, the subreddit, and Matcom's...
I have a crystal ball.
Oh, yeah.
But it doesn't help with Halo that much.
But what does your crystal ball tell us about Liquid and CLG next week? I guess it'll be especially surprising. Okay, let's just move on. Okay, Halo. Nothing much really happened. The most exciting thing was Tom Ryan had street tacos. Yeah. And by Tom Ryan, we mean Ogre 2. Ogre 2 had street tacos. Ogre 2 had Chipotle with Matcom. Yeah. Exciting, uplifting. We don't have to feel so depressed about the rest of the games. Moving on to the play/game of the week. We're going to run the clip, and then it's going to be wonderful.
Patch is the patch where Athenes get buffed, and we'll probably see the resurgence of Athenes.
I am excited.
We are still on 5.5 though, so Morello's the go-to first field.
So let's see where they go from here, Kobe. That power is going to be big. Cali Trolls, the teleport's up, but he's going ahead and going to walk down to this mid lane.
Chunk.
Very good chunk indeed. And I'm sure Salushi is keeping it in his mind to not just throw off those shockwaves. A lot of people have been dodging.
CLG have been able to get the vision advantage here. They've got true sight. Ooh, they no longer have true sight.
It's the battle. Who's going to get the
Scuttle? The batter over Scuttler. Will you use one of your smite charges? The only thing about Spectator, I can't see.
He's going to dash.
They have 2 charges ready for it.
I don't know. It's still a good cooldown between 2 charges.
Teammates claimed it.
Dragon's already hit.
Smithy's doing Dragon right now, though. So.
2300 HP. Smithy looks like he could just keep it by himself. Down. They go for the fight. Dodo's in the middle. That's going to hit double lift. The AD carry's gone with all the summoners and the Sivir ultimate. Maple Street's not in a good spot, and it looks like the damage dealers still on the up and up here for Counter Logic Gaming. They're able to use them very nicely. Dragon goes over to Smithy after the elongated fight we've said they were going to happen over and over again. And everybody picks up some kills. Nice.
Gold star for Zion Spartan here.
Okay. So, that clip was actually from CLG Law, even though he kind of got smashed by some other teams. It was a Rumble Sejuani ulti. Nice and hot.
If you were someone who is saying that CLG has team fight issues and synergy issues, well, there's some nice...
There's one play
Smithy
There's one play which completely invalidates your concerns about CLG's team fighting.
Exactly.
This one play means that they are excellent at team fighting and are top 5 in the world because Team 8 beat TSM once.
Yeah, by Pirate.
TSM beat World Elite, who beat GE Tigers. Yeah! Ha! Hyped! Okay, moving on. To the Player of the Week. Who would you say that CLG is super proud of this week, doesn't want to cry in a corner about, and is the flag bearer for the CLG organization this week?
Personally, I put it between like Tom Ryan and his tacos.
I know, right?
Give it to Matcom for taking someone out for lunch. I have it between Tarek and Zion. In all of the CSGO games, Tarek had stepped up and had a carry scoreline as like the team expects them to have. Whereas all the support players kind of had lower scorelines, but were keeping up with him. His aim was on. He was looking pretty solid. And then Zion, I mean, no matter what you say about the picks, it's not like he played poorly. He played pretty solid on Hecarim, even though he had a couple deaths. He had really great Rumble game, and the other game was the Jax game. And even if I think there was a couple attempts at solo kills for him. He didn't just win outright against Impact, though. If you looked at his impact on team fights, if there was a chance for where CLG was getting their trades in team fights was because of Zion landing.
Yeah, Zion was doing really well throughout the game, but I think Tarek and the CSGO squad's always they're doing well as usual, as per the usual. But then I think it's a toss-up between the two. So,
give it to Tom Ryan.
Tom Ryan's tacos?
Yeah.
Taco Tuesday?
Taco Tuesday.
I think it was actually like a Wednesday or something. Whatever.
If it's a Wednesday, we'll retroactively get rid of the player of the week because he just got it wrong. Okay?
Well, no, I think it was on Sunday.
Not fair? Taco Sunday.
That doesn't work so well, does it?
Blasphemy.
Whatever. You got tacos. Street tacos. You guys should check out his Twitter for pictures of food porn, but Halo news is kind of sparse this week.
Indeed.
So, moving on to the non-existent interview segment, then we'll move on straight into the segue for LOL of the next week. We are playing against a team which is known for their very solid play, the consistency of their teamwork, and as well as the, the puree of their, pork.
Were you actually intentionally making puns there? Because, for real, solid play and their consistency.
Solid play, their consistency of their teamwork, and then there's a puree pork.
Yeah?
You get what puree pork is?
Piglet getting crushed!
No, he's put into a blender, then you splur it up, and then you put him on nachos.
Oh, he's getting crushed because this is, obviously, like what I was saying this earlier, it's a conspiracy, but I have good conspiracy theories.
9/11
CLG intentionally lost to Team Impulse so that they could get into their match against C9.
Then lose that. So that they could play against Liquid in round 1 of the playoffs, because otherwise we wouldn't have, it's quite possible that we would have never seen Double Lift versus Piglet. So for everyone who is crying about CLG not getting that second round bye, we can actually watch Double Lift versus Piglet in a best of 5.
Yeah, and
lane swaps, because they're never gonna face each other. Because
it'll never happen. Both teams will play like some comp that lets 80 carries fight each other solo in the jungle.
If they lane
double Jarvan and like put them in a pit together, Jarvan flashes out. There we go.
If they play lane swap, I'm gonna be sad. So there's gonna be a best of 5 against Team Liquid. If we can't beat them, I don't think the bye would have helped us that much anyway. We would just lost to like whoever C9 or Liquid in the semifinals. So for everyone who is already waiting, like crying out, moaning about CLG's potential and how they're going to perform, we can't go to relegations. So the worst we can finish is 6. So just set your expectations.
This is my favorite thing about the new format of LCS. Like, I'm frustrated about a lot of things about the format, but the fact that if you make playoffs,
you can't get relegated.
That just seems some fucking nonsense. You could be the top team in this league, or you could just get fucked.
So, now relegations. All CLG fans can be happy about that. I want to set my expectations low. We're gonna get 2 games off of Liquid, and then we might lose horribly to some.
I'm gonna set my
due to some act of God.
I'm gonna keep my expectations high. I'm pretty sure that Piglet's going down.
Well, if your expectations are so high, I should just like be a little bit sneaky about how I'm worried about stuff. You might have too many balls. Otherwise, BDOS might just come in through the door and smash us in the semifinals.
I'm sober as fuck.
All right, so that's gonna happen at 12 o'clock on Saturday, quarterfinals. After the Copenhagen Wolves play someone else.
The Copenhagen Wolves?
The Copenhagen Wolves. Yes, ja. And then now, moving on to CSGO next week. It's going to be SKDC versus CLG and CLG versus Team Liquid in yet another game.
Yeah, this is the Face It League still is going on, so we have more matches.
And this is basically playoffs, correct?
I don't know if there's actually playoffs.
I know CVOP is in playoffs, and then
CVOP's playoffs are over. Yeah. So what's upcoming is these are the 2 Face It League games. They may or may not be playoff games. I don't think they are because they're not like they're not sets. They're 1 matches. One of them's tomorrow. I think SKDC is tomorrow. But either way, we have these 2 games. SKDC, we have a winning scoreline against recently. Team Liquid has been performing pretty well, especially like I think they beat C9 recently as well. So
Oh yeah, it'd be C9.
Strong team.
Strong
Team Liquid's looking pretty solid. The other matches that we have or they're not this week. In 2 weeks' time, we have the ESEA LAN coming up, and that's an international tournament. And a week following that is the CEVO LAN, both of which international tournaments that CLG qualified for. So.
Okay, so ESEA is going to be on the 13th, and then CEVO is going to be on the 17th. And these are both LAN tournaments?
I think it's the weekend of the 13th. I don't know if that's the exact date. I went and found it and saw 13th was right.
Okay.
So I could be wrong. I may have these backwards.
That's fine.
Shit, whatever.
We still have 2 weeks to readjust our schedule.
Yeah.
So for anyone who's super eagerly awaiting accurate CSGO news, blame Cry, because Cry's not here, so we can blame her for everything.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to Halo.
Blame me. I eat it up. I love it.
Moving on to Halo. So aside from Tom Ryan's Street Tacos, I don't think there's anything happening next week. We might actually get some Yoshinoya or some sushi next week. But moving on to the actual gameplay.
We'll be watching the Twitter feeds for you to know what Tom Ryan is eating.
Yes.
Hopefully it's onions.
Onions?
Yeah. All the layers.
God, let's not do ogre jokes again. Please no. Please.
Well, I mean, with that, Brendon, this episode is pretty much ogre, right?
Okay. So Iron Gaming Atlanta, 417. That'll be happening in 2.5 weeks. So
that's the kickoff of this next season of HCS.
Yay.
Yeah. So new team, new spirit.
No more catch up.
Silver Age to Golden Age.
No, we're bronze because we're third. Bronze Age.
We're in bronze right now.
No, this is what happened. So Hotshot GG's hair got dyed pink, so it's Pink Age. Then it turned to blonde, which is Golden Age, and then it goes back, and then it goes back to like bleached white hair, so it's Silver Age, and then it goes back to normal, which is brown hair, so which is Bronze Age, which is what CLG is normally at.
Oh, I thought brown hair meant like relegation shit age.
I guess maybe. Okay then, if you're on that depressing note, we would like to say goodbye and welcome. See you.
Have a great week.
Have a great week, and hopefully we come back to CLG victorious over Liquid.
You'll see a grin on my face.
And LOL. Because we are so not depressed and we are not ready to go drown ourselves in alcohol.
Yeah. I'm not. There's no alcohol here.
All right. Bye, guys.
Goodbye.
See you again later or next week.